Welcome to the Soulish Podcast. My name is Whitney Apke, and I have a very special guest, Yasmin Elzomor, one of my besties.
I love you.
I love you too. We just were talking, what was it, last week? We were talking, and so a week from this recording, we were talking, and we just really felt it on our hearts to have this conversation about stepping into your inner power and trusting your inner power and intuition and following that inner guidance system. And because life throws at you all sorts of things, and everyone's telling you how you should feel, what you should think, what you should do, how you should speak, what you should speak. And so we have all of these influences, whether, subliminal or outright direction of what to do. And so we really had it on our hearts to have this chat because it goes into everything of who we are and how we live our lives and the choices that we make. And it's not only so important for us during our spiritual journeys and awakenings, but it's also so important with just life in general, and like the choices that we make in relationships, friendships, right? Career, how we live our lives, how we live our days. How do you wake up? How do you go to sleep? All of those things are dictated, right, Yas, by your inner guidance system. So
100%. Ooh, I love that. I'm so excited.
Was that a good intro?
That was an amazing intro. I was like, yes, girl. Step into that power.
I am.
Yeah, you are. Oh my God, I love you. Thank you for that intro, love. That was amazing. And, at the part where you said, nowadays, there's just so much information out there, and there is so many resources that it could be so overwhelming of like, what the heck do I even do? Which way do I go? What's best for me? And your voice of your own intuition could get so drowned out in the voices of other people and other leaders and coaches. And I think that that's such an important point, because social media is such a big influence nowadays. And with that comes, that responsibility of setting boundaries around the information that we're constantly consuming 24/7.
Yes. Yeah. It's a big deal because there is a lot of positive information out there and positive guidance. But still, I think what the key is instead of looking outside of yourself for that direction, you should be looking inside. And then anything that you see that confirms that or affirms what you've already heard, that's what that's meant for. It's not meant to be the way that you are guided. It's meant to be affirming of what you've already confirmed within yourself. And I think that's the huge point to that.
Totally. Oh my God, I love that. It's so true. And, I even find myself when I'm like scrolling on Instagram and I'm like, oh my God, there's just so much goodness. There's so much good information. But then I tune in to like, what do I need right now? Like, is this something that resonates? And if it doesn't, that's okay too. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's not for me. So like you said, it's really important to decipher what's what and what's best for you and what feels right to you. And that's really like the most powerful thing you can do for yourself.
I think people might be even asking like, what's the big deal?
Right.
Like, why does it matter? And what does it impact if you take outside sources as your guidance?
Right.
I think there is a healthy balance with that of maybe something standing out to you and you going, oh my gosh. But the ticket as well to that, and the point is for it to turn something on maybe that you were tuned out of. And so then that awakens the inner voice and you're going, oh my gosh, I so resonate with that. Like I want to go in that direction. But the dependency on anything else outside of yourself, anything external, right, is that then you are following everyone else's voice except for your own.
Exactly. And that's where the issue lies, because now we're stepping outside of ourselves and we are, like you said, becoming dependent on other people knowing what's best for us and our bodies and our minds and our emotions. And we're not really addressing like, well, is this actually what I need to do? Or am I just listening and like having someone lead, and it doesn't matter what they're saying, but having someone lead and tell me what to do with my body or my situation that I'm currently going through. So
it's
so important.
I think ultimately, right, when you take other voices and you actually turn your own voice off, or you ignore it
Yeah.
because you hear something else, or you see someone else doing something that is attractive or looks great or looks like it makes them happy, then
Yeah.
that's a big one, right?
That's
Following everyone
huge.
else's
Yeah.
happiness. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
have
God.
Winston hair
Huge.
on my lip. um, I'm always good for that, aren't I? um, I think that
I love it. I love you so much. And I love it.
I'm just real. The soulish community already knows I'm quirky. I'm like feeling this like move across my lip, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to get it. But
I love you. I was just like, what's going on? Like,
I promise I don't have a mustache. I'm not growing something. We're here. I kissed Winston before this, before we started recording.
I was there and I saw that.
Witness. So I think too that part of like tuning out or ignoring and following outside, whether positive or negatively beneficial to you, not beneficial to you, is that you step outside of alignment with what you're meant to do and what you're meant to live and how you're meant to live and your purpose. And we all came here for a reason. We didn't just poof, here we are, come out of a womb and that's it, just exist on this planet. Like
Right.
you have a purpose. There's a reason why you incarnated in this time. Like it's so specific. Like you chose your birthday. The birthday didn't choose you. You chose your birthday. So
exactly.
You chose all your planetary alignments, your human design, right?
Everything, right?
And it all community,
which is so crazy.
Yes, and it all aligns. And the soulish community knows because we've gone through human design very lightly. Right. We still need to get into that more, peeps. So we will tune in, but because human design is awesome, but also astrology, right? And so it's all of these tools that we are finding and discovering that affirms our makeup and how we're designed and how we chose to be designed for living our purpose and enjoying life. And so I think that's why it's so important to tune in, because we're also spiritual beings having a temporary human experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I love what you said about like our soul's plan, you know, and everyone's soul's plan is different. You know, we can't look at someone else and be like, oh, that's making them happy. It must make me happy too. Maybe that's not your soul's plan, you know? And like, I think that's when our ego likes to get involved, and it's like, oh, but if it's working for that person and if that person's doing it, then it must be for me as well. And that's when human design plays in, which, you know, I know the community will definitely learn more about that, but knowing your own energy type, knowing how you work specifically and like how you feel about certain things and what you enjoy doing, how you eat, how you digest food, like your best working hours during the day. Everyone is so different. And everyone is so unique in their own way of how they choose to step into their own power, you know? So I think that's so special. Yeah, that's totally a journey. And it's an ongoing one that we continue to unravel layers and layers and layers. There's no end point. There's no point where we could say like, I'm done unraveling, you know, I'm done doing this. It's like, we continuously go through that. And every cycle is going to look different. You know, every single cycle, like some cycles you got to go inward and it's going to suck sitting with yourself and sitting with your emotions. And some you're going to go outward and you're going to like grow and you're going to do all these incredible things. And it's just like this like idea, this vision of, you know, expansion and contraction. That's really what it is. So, I mean, I love what you said about that and how important it is to follow that, to follow our individual path, because like there's nothing more magical than actually doing that.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times I've felt very critical of myself in my journey and have felt like a late bloomer. In so many ways, I was an early bloomer, but in other ways, I was a late bloomer. And I felt like, even with podcasting, I mean, to be really honest, the community owes the honesty. So even with starting the podcast, I was like, fuck, why didn't I start this years ago? Like I
Yeah.
had all of these things going on and all of these thoughts and wanted to explore all these things
Right.
years ago. And like now's the time when I start this. Like I literally have to have like a beam from heaven to like to start this. Like, fuck me, man. Like, why didn't I start this before? Like, because now
Exactly.
podcasting is so big. Like there's everyone podcast has a
Yeah,
podcast.
it's
So
true. It's so true. I was thinking about that earlier. I'm like, everyone and their mothers have a podcast.
everyone grandmother has a podcast. But I think that like when you're so critical over everything, just even for me, my ebb and flow through religion and spirituality and trying to find myself and my Saturn return
Oh,
really
oh,
like
please.
I know, painful, right?
You hit a trigger point.
Sorry. Oops, sorry.
Authenticity. You said Saturn return. I said, whoa.
It was like a whoosh.
What Winston does. What?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Talk about
mean,
cycles of life.
God, like Saturn return. That's where I figured out like, what do I really feel is right and wrong?
Yeah.
Like I came to that point, and that is part of stepping in to your power.
Yeah.
That is part of you stepping into your intuition and honoring it and trusting it. Like for me, I had such fear of like, oh my God, you have sex outside of marriage, like you're doomed. I had a pastor tell me you will lose your anointing. You will not be as good of a worship leader, as anointed, like as impactful if you lose your virginity. So, I mean, it was
Right.
like, whoa, like that hit me like a freight train. Cause I'm like,
Oh yeah.
but what if like, so what happens if I'm taken advantage of?
Yeah.
So am I going to lose my anointing then, or does it stick?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
where does this end? Right. Because
Right.
in religion, it's so black and white
Yeah.
and right and wrong.
It's so rigid. Yeah.
It's very rigid, very like black and white. And there is some gray parts, but
Right.
ultimately, I mean, just depending on your denomination, your religion type, what sect, right? There's so many different layers of that. And so I know that just from coming from a religion that did have that element of right and wrong and was very black and white, and growing up in that, I can relate to people who have legitimate fear of trusting their intuition, because you grow up saying that your intuition is wrong and that we know what's right and what you feel right now is wrong. So
100%.
it dictates to you and it teaches you what is right. And that's actually in the Bible. Teach your children in the way that is right, and they will not, they will not stray. And there's a lot of goodness in that, of teaching your kids values of what to value, valuing life, valuing love, right? Like those things for sure. But religion takes that to like the nth degree, right? And it becomes not beneficial.
I agree.
Because ultimately we should trust what we feel.
Absolutely.
And navigate.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that, especially like when it comes to sex, for example, you know what I mean? And it's like knowing what your body needs and, who to have that experience with and stuff like that. It's like nobody knows but you at the end of the day. Nobody knows but what you need to do with your own body, who you got to sleep with, who you don't have to sleep with, so it's like it really does come down to you. So when these things are so black or white and so rigid, we completely disconnect from our desires and our body. And then we don't know whether or not, like, am I compatible with this person? Like, we don't know what you can't
even think like that.
No.
You can't even think, am I compatible at this point? Because you're like, it's just not possible.
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And it just keeps you in this box, and as you get older, like, the whole idea of like the late bloomer, like, because you're like, I don't know who I even am, because I never got the chance to explore myself because I was so boxed in. And I like, for me, I also grew up in a religious household, so for me, it was just like, especially with the side of Christianity, because my mom's dad was a priest and he worked in the church. So like my mom grew up around that, but she started to unravel a lot, which helped me as I was younger, as I was growing up. It helped me understand myself, and it helped me kind of step away from religion and find myself in a way of like, what fits right for me, regardless of what religion says. And
Yeah.
I can pick and choose what sits with me with religion and spirituality. You know, for me, it's like a buffet. You know what I mean? It's like I could sit there and be like, oh, I like this, or no, that doesn't resonate, or yeah, that's for me, or nope, that's not for me. That ideology is not for me. You know, so it really comes down to you picking and choosing what feels right to you. And everyone is different. No one can tell you otherwise, because we all come from different backgrounds, cultures, ideologies, you know, like belief systems, like everything is so different. So, you know, tuning in is so important, and like actually physically knowing your body is so, so important when it comes to trusting your intuition as well.
And I think too, it's totally fine to ebb and flow. Like you may
Yeah.
not align with something now, but years later or months later, it all of a sudden may align with you. And so
Yeah.
I think too that's the grace that we have to give ourselves in the journey. Like I've made mistakes in following my intuition and realize later like like yeah, that didn't feel too
Right.
good. Like I can tell that didn't fully benefit me, but in the moment I felt like it did. But I can
Right.
see why now I'm starting to feel, you know, some sort of way about it, or just that it didn't like in the end, I didn't gain much from it. Like
Right.
it didn't move me forward. It made
Right.
me feel good in that moment. And
Right.
I felt like I was doing what I needed to do and stepping into my power.
Right.
But
Right.
then later I realized, it didn't really move me forward. It just kind of made
Yeah.
me stay in that
In
space.
that
So,
space. Right.
and sometimes that's fine. Like not everything has to be a gain. Sometimes things just need to happen to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes your soul has a specific lesson that it needs you to learn. And it like tells you, you know, it's like I always tell people, like, there's no right or wrong decision. It
Right.
just is a decision that your soul wants to take, because either way, you're going to learn a lesson. So pick your lesson. Pick the lesson from
And
the
pick good.
menu.
Yeah.
Pick the lesson from the menu that the universe has for you, basically, you know? So it really does come down to that. And we get paralyzed in the face of making a decision sometimes. And I know that this is so, like, this happens to me 24/7. It's like, I don't know which way to go. I don't know what decision to choose. But at the end of the day, we need to remind ourselves that whichever decision we decide to take, whichever path we decide to go, that path is going to teach us something. And it might be the harder path that we decide to take, or the more, you know, challenging, the more, the tougher side, but it's still teaching us something. It's still going to lead us in the direction that we're meant to go on. So, you know, it's two emerging paths, and it's going to get to that same end point somehow, you know? So that's how I see it. And, you know, it's just important to make the decision based off of what you feel is right for you in the moment, you know? And sometimes you might pick incorrectly, and later on you realize, like, damn, why did I pick that guy and I didn't pick the other one? You know what I mean? It's like, well, you had to learn something.
Yep.
So, you know, it really does come down to that sometimes.
Yeah. I think probably a hard question to ask, and I'll just ask you,
Yeah.
is how can you tell the difference between being triggered and something being the wrong decision and being like an authentic alarm?
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a hard one. But yeah, because that really requires you to like really sit with yourself and sit with like your thoughts.
How do you do that?
To get comfortable. I know, right? To get comfortable with like who you are at the end of the day and how you process things. I think that that's like probably the first step. And that's a process, of course. And it's like, again, we never get to a point where I know 100% everything I need to know about myself, because we're constantly evolving, and the way we decide, the way we pick and choose, it becomes different as time goes on, as we get older. But for me, it's like, you know, for me, it's kind of like, what are your shadows? You know, it comes down to the shadow work. You know, what are your shadows? What are your triggers? What are your childhood wounds? Like, what do you feel triggers your ego versus what wasn't necessarily triggering to your ego, but kind of shook up your soul? You know what I mean? It's like there's a little bit of a difference there. And that's how I see it. That's how I picture it. It's like, well, you know, this specific relationship or situation didn't necessarily trigger me, but I knew it was a lesson because it kind of pushed my soul to evolve, to move, to get past this obstacle, this challenge, this karmic bond that I was having with this person. Or is it just like, is your ego just reacting rather than responding, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it comes down to getting comfortable with knowing your wounds and coming down to like what actually triggers me, what actually pisses me off, versus what are some things that I know for a fact is just like a soul lesson on a deeper level that, again, doesn't necessarily trigger me, but it just kind of teaches me like this is something that, you know, you needed to learn.
You know,
tricky.
It's so tricky.
It's tricky.
The one thing that I think I have realized in this journey, and I'm 34, is I look back and I see now in all the ways I wasn't honest with myself. I wasn't honest with what hurt me, right? Trying to be tough, trying to like show front, you know, like
be resilient,
front. Yeah. And not being honest with myself with that. And then also not being honest with what still hurts, right? What still is a wound, what still is something that I need to just be honest. And sometimes things take time to heal. And I am the person that I'm like, no, like now, like yesterday, like same. Now let's do it. Like, let's quickly get it done. Like whatever we need to do, quickly. Let's do it, because I don't want to hold back anymore. I hope I'm not overwhelming the mic right now with my voice. Hopefully that comes out all right. Sorry if you're listening to the podcast and that just blared. But I think that part of it too is being honest with yourself to realize, like, in what ways have I hidden this from myself? And a lot of times it's to not hurt yourself. Like your body does that, even within your body acts like that. It stores any kind of heavy metals, right? It stores in fat so that it doesn't hurt you and you end up eliminating it. So it's our body, even cancer is a natural occurrence that happens to protect your body from things. It just doesn't know how to when it gets overwhelmed. And so I think the same thing happens for us. We don't know how to respond or what direction to go when we are overwhelmed on the inside. So the big maybe encouragement for anyone listening, including myself, is to tune in and to be as honest with yourself and to sit with things get triggered, sit with that, like you said, right? And go deep and really, really see, where does that sit in me? Like I always try to find the anchor, because you will find it. It can only be hidden by you. Even shadow work, you don't have to go into some deep, dark hypnosis, you know, from some old guy with a watch. You can do it when you're conscious, you know. It is just a choice. Triggers are the best moment to address shadows.
Totally. I always say, like, social media is a great way to address shadows too. You know, it's like, if there's someone that's posting something that triggers you, you know, a belief of some sort, you know, it's like, why am I so angry about this belief? Or what triggers me so much about this belief? Or why don't I want to believe what that person has to say? You know, so that's that's huge right now with everything happening in the world. It's like, great way to do shadow work is just like scroll on Instagram, see what comes up, and see if something, like, you feel tension in your body and see what triggers you. It could be, you know, this influencer that's like traveling the world and making tons of money. Like, what is it about that person that, you know, bugs you or makes you feel like you're comparing or makes you feel jealous? It's honesty. It's because we all experience it in some way or another, you know? And it's really about facing that and being honest with yourself of like, what are some of my wounds and why do I keep repeating certain patterns, or why do I have certain thoughts that keep coming up over and over and over again? It's like, and they're not leaving, you know, they're, no matter how much I try to push them away or repress them or fix them, like, it's not healing. It's like, what are you not looking at? So that's so important. And like, you know, it hits such a soft spot, my love, because right now I'm going through my Saturn return. Speaking of Saturn, this is like,
sorry for mentioning it.
No, oh my God, like, talk about a trigger. I'm doing shadow work. Okay. So I'm going through my Saturn return. And one of the things that I'm going through right now is like, I'm really learning to sit with my emotional world, you know, with like my inner world of like, wow, there are certain emotions I never sat with before. Like I realized yesterday, I literally spent the whole day crying because I realized I never knew how to grieve properly before all of this. Like, I'm grieving parts of my life, obviously old identities, but I started to feel like I was grieving my old breakups. And I was like, what? And it wasn't a sense of missing my exes or anything, but it was a sense of like, I never sat with the pain. I numbed
Mm,
myself. I immersed myself in creativity and work. I did it in a healthy manner, still immersed myself in like getting fit, getting attractive, feeling good about myself. The ego, like takes up space when that happens.
yeah.
And running into a different relationship or talking to different guys or like quickly getting over it and saying, okay, I'm good. I cried for like a month. I'm fine. It's like, no, you weren't. That was a 4-year relationship with a lot of trauma. You sure you're fine?
You sure
You
good?
sure? You
You
sure
sure?
you? It's like no, and I was never honest with myself about that. And then yesterday, I realized that came up for me because I had like the night before, I had a dream with my ex's dad, which is it's so crazy because it's like my dreams are even telling me this whole week I've had really weird dreams, and it's almost like
Yeah.
telling me like, hey, there's stuff that you haven't been honest with yourself about. There's stuff that you haven't healed yet, and now it's coming up for me to heal, and it's like perfect timing for Saturn return. Couldn't be any better, like it has to come out at some point,
It
and
does.
I think it's like, again, it's all about that honesty that you need to have with yourself, and like knowing like, did I properly grieve? Did I properly sit with the depression, the anxiety, the sadness, the heartbreak, or did I just kind of move through life feeling like, toughen up, that whole idea that you said before, like toughen up, put up that shell and like just be resilient, keep going,
That
or
front.
did I that front? Yeah. And I did put up a front many times in the past. And finally I realized like, damn, like this is stuff that I need to let go of. It's baggage that I need to let go of that maybe I wasn't ready to let go of back then, but now I am. And
Hmm.
now it's time, but
Hmm.
again, facing it, being honest, and knowing, like how to do these things, and having the tools and the proper guidance with, a community like that loves you, cares about you, or friends or family that you could really rely on. I think that that's like so helpful for anyone that's going through anything right now. That's so helpful.
It's crazy that you're going through that because I've been going through that.
Get out.
So we need to talk to our
Oh.
astrologer friends and figure out if there's something in the air.
Christine.
Yeah, straight up. Because
Christine.
I've been having that same thing. And I was even taking a
Wow.
ceremonial cleansing, energy cleansing bath. I'm pointing to my bathroom. For those who are watching, that's where I bathe. Why do I have to point? um, don't
You should
know.
have a sign just that
I
says
should have a sign.
bathroom.
Bath is that way. So then I don't have to point. I can just point to the sign. Oh yes.
I love it.
So I was taking an energy cleansing bath, and I got new energy cleansing like salts. It's like herbs and salts and everything. Yes, I
Love it.
like geeked out at an
I love it.
alchemy spiritual goods store 2 weekends ago with my brother's girlfriend Selena, and we
Oh,
bought way too much shit, but it's all
oh,
great. I'm using all of it,
oh,
so it doesn't matter.
love it.
So I was like ceremonial cleansing, right? And all of a sudden I had all the past relationships, even short ones, where
Wow. Yeah.
hearts were shared, moments were
Yeah.
shared,
Yeah.
and I just started to feel the weight of it. And I just thought, look, you might be struggling with past guilt, because to you, anything that you've done, one, I never want to hurt somebody, so
Yeah.
that's like a
Same.
big thing. So if I feel at all like I've hurt somebody, that weighs on me. um
Oh,
but also, like, did I handle it in righteousness, right? Like,
yeah.
am I still in right standing with God? Like, too physical or too emotional or too
That one.
too obsessed, did I miss out on something else because I was obsessed with this person and wanted to get into every part of them and get to know them? And so I stopped myself, because literally my thoughts were going, and I was feeling the emotions, and I started to want to cry. So starting to cry, and I just went,
I'm starting to cry right now.
started to cry. Yes, I was trying not to tear up. Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Don't start. Love you.
Don't you do that. Well, because I think like, oh, Yasmin, I'm gonna start to cry now because I think too, like when you're really honest with your heart, you feel how big your heart is.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that alone can be overwhelming because we are, I think every person, doesn't matter how depraved, deprived, what else word can I use? Lowest of the low, it doesn't
I'm
matter,
like
right?
crying and laughing right
It doesn't matter because we
now.
all were made with love
Yeah.
and designed and wrapped in love. We are, in every fiber of our being, we have love in
Yeah.
every single fiber, in every single cell, because we are made in the fabric of the universe, which is love. The currency of the universe is love. The world runs on love, right? So I will never not believe that, no matter how depraved I see somebody or how the most awful thing someone could ever do, it still comes out of the place of lack of love, right?
Absolutely.
So when you realize how much you love and how tender your heart is, man or woman, it does not matter. Gender fluid does not matter.
Right.
Everyone has a tender heart towards other people, towards life. That is just how we were made. We were just
Absolutely.
made in that fabric and in that energy and in that design. So oftentimes that can be overwhelming. And I think when we realize in the places that we were selfish or self-seeking, it doesn't mean that we were like outside of love necessarily. It just means that we were focused on what we were getting, not giving in a lot of instances. And I usually feel guilty of that, of like, I'm a giver first.
Oh.
And that is actually the opposite of the feminine, of the divine feminine. The divine feminine is receiving energy.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I think that's what I feel. It's not that it was right or wrong. It was that I was outside of my divine feminine energy, and I wasn't in a place of receiving. I was more in a place of giving. So, and that ebb and flow, right? But I think what I realized and what I had to start talking to myself in the bath was, hey, Wit, like that's how I talk to myself. Hey, Wit. So you need to chill, because every experience that you experience, you were meant to experience, and you chose to experience it.
Yeah.
And you need to let go of any guilt, shame, pain, anything that does not serve you, because that doesn't serve you. But what you can take away is the beautiful moments that you shared with these people that you will always keep. What you can keep is the exchange of love that you had, even if it was small, right? And that's what you walk away with. That's what helps you, not the guilt, not the shame, not the feeling like you didn't do it right or you didn't end things right. It could even be that.
Oh, you're speaking to me. You're speaking to my soul. Oh my God.
You're not the only one. That's how I feel. So
that's crazy. Well, the fact that we're both like experiencing that, it's bizarre to me, because like I had another friend tell me she literally is going through a breakup right now, and she's obviously experiencing like that, the denial, the grief, right? And you know, it's there's so many people that are experiencing that too right now, and it's almost like these karmic bonds from the past are coming up to be healed. You know, it's coming up for us to look at it and give our forgiveness and compassion to them. And like you
to
said,
them and to us.
Guilt. Yes, absolutely. And not hold that guilt. And I think for me right now, I think that that's what was coming up, is like, did I do things correctly? Like going back in time, you know, with all my exes, it's like, especially my most previous one, which was the heart shattering one. It's like, did I do that correctly? You know, I loved his family. I loved his friends. I loved like, it's almost like this whole bond was shattered. Like everything was broken. And it's like, did I do it correctly? You know, like, was I wrong for what I did? And like, you get all these feelings and all these thoughts that kind of come back, and it's overwhelming. And it's like, whoa, where is this coming from? You know, I thought I had passed over this already. I thought I had like gotten over that. You know, I thought I found closure with myself, you know, because it didn't, you know, necessarily, we didn't close things off. And sometimes you don't get to. Sometimes the closure is with ourselves, like you said. So it totally, like, you know, it totally messed with me yesterday. In the past few days, I was like, whoa, this is totally a lot. There's a lot that's been happening, a lot that's going on, but it's giving me the opportunity to heal something that I didn't finish healing before, you know, or that like there's a cycle that needs to end. And this is the only way we could do it, is to sit with it, to sit with the grief that's coming up, that the unfinished business that you have from your past, and to allow it to resolve, you know. And the way you do that is you literally just sit with the emotion, and you feel the pain. You don't ignore it. You don't repress it. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard. It's hard to sit with your emotions in a way that is safe. That you don't get swept up and taken away, but that it actually benefits you, because as you're feeling, I think the key to that of feeling is releasing at the same point. Every time you feel something, you're allowing it to flow. And because I think that's how emotions get stuck. And we've talked about this because that's the tantric tradition talks about that, of that everything flows through you and you don't identify with anything. You actually de-identify with it. And I think that's the key for me always, is my attachments. And that's how I realize I've lost power, because I've linked this attachment to this experience or this person, what happened between us. And I feel that I've lost power because I didn't do it the way that I know now I would have done it. If I had known now what I knew, you know, if I could know then what I knew now, here we go. I got it. Then I need another spoonful of honey. Then like I would do it differently. And I had that conversation with my brother during my breakup with my ex of 5 years, 9 months ago. And I said, Aaron, like, you know, I feel so much guilt. Like, if I had known that it was going to come to this, I wouldn't have started it. I would have ended it before it started. But then again, I'm wrestling because I went through so many things with this person and I was there for them in so many ways I know that they needed. I'm going to try not to cry through death. Oh my God, here we go. What is up, man?
The water works.
What is up? It's okay to cry, everybody. It's okay to cry.
Okay.
I just can't talk and cry at the same time. Does anyone else have that issue? And now I'm going to sound like a bear that, you know, got muffled. So I went through so many things. I went through death. I went through life. I saw babies born. I saw people die. I was there in the hospital. I was there when, you know, family members died, dogs died. Like, you know, you can't undo that stuff. And for me, I was like, was that too much for me? Like, was I too over invested and not being invested back in the way that I deserve to be? And that's ultimately what like led me to walking away. Was I knew that I need a specific type of partner. And it's not that this person is less than of a person or less valuable, less worthy of love. It just means that unfortunately, we are not aligned. And it took me this long to figure it out. But I also was going through my Saturn return from the beginning of that relationship. Oh, wow. So I didn't know that. I didn't know about your Saturn return. I didn't know that we go through this really wild, like
time period,
self-discovery and realizing where things, you know, kind of throwing everything up in the air and then realizing where it falls. And so I didn't know that. So I was like in this whole rediscovery phase. That's when I left Christianity. And I was like, I don't know what I believe in anymore, but I don't agree with this. This doesn't align. I left church. I left Christianity right when I was in this relationship. So of course, everybody probably was like, the guy took her away from God, you know. I'm sure so many people said so many things, but ultimately I look back on that and I have no fucking regrets with anything. Even the way that we broke up, it's never nice. And I knew it wasn't going to be nice. It was as nice as it could be and as respectful as it could be, but it doesn't feel good, especially if you've been with someone for 5 years. And I made promises 6 months in. I remember I lost it. We went away to Oregon and went away, Portland, Oregon, on a vacay celebrating his birthday. And I remember I laid on a bed and I just started crying so hard. And I was just telling him, I just had this moment of vulnerability and telling him, like, if you're like even wheelchair bound, like I will stay with you for the rest of my life. I will never leave you.
You're making me cry again.
Dude, but it was honest, right? And that's
Yeah.
how I still feel about him. Like if I
Right.
saw him and I saw him hurting, I would go after him, guns blazing. I would take down whatever I needed to take down for him. Like I love him wholeheartedly. That
Of
has never
course.
changed, right? And
No.
that never changes. And I think that's the thing too. Am I getting you? That's the that's the thing too
Look
about
at
love. I'm trying to
Oh,
talk through this.
sorry.
This is so
I
real
love
right
you
now.
so much. I know.
That's the thing about love, is that love loves. Love never stops. Does it mean that you're aligned with that person and that you're meant to live the rest of your life with them? No, sometimes not.
Right.
Sometimes it means that you love them for a moment in time, and that matters more than anything. And so I will never regret any
No.
of the words of the promises that I made, because they were honest.
Right.
And I would
Exactly.
never, if I could be friends with him, if he would allow it, I would
Right.
be. I
Oh,
would have
absolutely.
never stopped being friends, but he
Right.
couldn't do that.
Right.
So you have to part
Respect
ways
boundaries.
respectfully.
Right.
Yeah, because
Right.
I want to respect him in everything I do, even the way I talk about him,
Right.
because he's a
Absolutely.
good person. He's a good man. He was a great partner in life during those 5 years. I've never felt so supported, but we ultimately weren't in alignment. And so I
Exactly.
think
And that's
ultimately
painful to
it's
accept that, you
so
know? It's
painful to
really
accept that.
painful.
So painful. And so I think as we navigate life, and you are, a relationship coach and counselor, so you get it. You talk with people about relationships. And I think this is such an important point with everything that we do. It's not just in
Absolutely.
relationships, friendships, co-workerships. It's the relationship that we have with ourselves. That is
Absolutely.
so important. And that is how you step into your power, is you
Right.
step into your vulnerability. If you can't be vulnerable with yourself, how can you be vulnerable with someone else? It's
Right on.
impossible. You can't be. So I
Right.
think that's also where the breakdown happens with alignment in relationships. I have like tears still
Absolutely.
streaming down. Alignment, it's like they don't stop. Alignment with, your purpose, who you date, who you're with,
Right.
who you partner with, the friendships, the co-workerships, the colleagues. Like you and I are friends, but
Right.
we met as colleagues first, and
Right.
you came on the podcast and we started working together. So
Right.
there's so many different things, but the way that we love is always going to be authentic. And so if you're that person that has ever made promises to somebody and you feel guilty, like it didn't work out, and I feel like I gave a part of myself to somebody because
Yeah.
I promised my whole life. I
Yeah.
promised forever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that guilt is what was choking me for months
Yes.
afterwards. And
Yeah.
I felt like I think part of it too, and I'm going to try not to cry again.
Screw it. We're already doing it.
We're already
Might as
doing
well.
it.
Let's
I
finish
knew
it.
I knew not to brush the bottom lashes with mascara, and I'm glad I didn't. Um, it was for you guys, but it would have been gone by now anyway. So I think part of that too is feeling a lack of worthiness, because I felt like I dishonored my word and I dishonored my heart
Your
when I
integrity.
said those things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I'm now living outside of my word and my promises and my integrity, because I'm a woman of my word, and I've always prided myself on that. And so you feel out of your power because you feel like I'm outside of what I promised.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Oh my God, you're literally preaching to me, because that literally is how I miss. I should hold up a sign saying yes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, my love. You're literally speaking to my heart, because that's literally what I've been feeling with like what's been coming up from my past relationships. It's like,
Yep.
The promises that I made, not just to my exes, but to their family, to their friends.
Yeah.
So like, that I've always prided myself on that too, being someone who has a lot of integrity, speaking a lot of truth. And like, when I promise something, I really, really, really love following through with that. And I don't want to let people down. And I always want to like, be honest and be straightforward about who I am and the decisions I make. So I think that for me, it was that guilt of like, I felt like I wasn't in integrity. And now that I'm such a different person than I was years ago when we broke up, it hurts, and it just really like kind of reminds you like, damn, like that Like it hurts that I broke my promises. It hurts that I acted a certain way that I would have never, like now I would never do that back, like, you know, back then in the relationship. But it's just, it's so painful to admit that to yourself. It's so painful to be honest with yourself about that. So it definitely has been like a moment of like reflection, like inner reflection of like, I've never faced this before, you know. And as a relationship coach, I'm constantly immersed in the world of love and romance and relationships. And this is so new to me to, you know, finally go inward and learn about how I'm grieving after a breakup years down the line. You know what I mean? Years later, it's like I'm grieving parts of myself that I had with that person, you know, parts of myself that now I'm stepping into a new version of who I am, and like I'm showing up differently now. And back then I was so different, you know, and I was with someone else, and it's just so crazy how much you grow when you start putting the pieces together and you start realizing like, wow, this is definitely what growing pains are. And we never stop unraveling. We continue to unravel. And, you know, it's just, oh man, there's just so much that comes with it. And it's overwhelming. It really is overwhelming sometimes to feel that way and to feel everything come up, you know, at the same time. And, you know, it really is heartbreaking, because that's the part that hurts us the most. It's the fact that, you know, we felt like we were out of integrity. We felt like we hurt the other person. We felt like we, you know, we shattered them as well. You know what I mean? And like their family and the people that came with that package. And it really is so painful to look at it like that. And I feel like we're just learning so much right now, going through another phase of of grieving. Yeah.
Whoa,
grieving.
whoa. I think too, it's the coming to terms with our humanness.
Yeah.
Because we are human. Like this is part of the human experience.
Oh my God,
so
totally.
Holding that weight and holding yourself responsible for whatever, even if you weren't in integrity, and even if you did something that was selfish or rude or condescending or hurtful, you purposefully hurt somebody, even then that's part of your human experience. And so now that you've come to that point where you realize that doesn't feel good, like it doesn't help me, I end up right back where I started, it doesn't benefit me, I don't feel good, I feel like total shit, then you realize. And so then you take steps to move forward and move in a different way with that. And so that's totally fine. And I always struggle with the perfectionism. I want to be perfect. I want to be perfectly in integrity. I want to always write.
Me too.
And I love Beautiful Chorus on Spotify. They have a song, I think it's from Mantras of Love. But you guys can look it up. Beautiful Chorus. I love them. I listen to them every morning now. They have one song that goes, I am perfect as I am. Oh, and it just repeats, I am perfect as I am.
Oh, man,
so I end up singing that. Oh, like it's so good, because you realize I'm perfect as I am. Am I embodying new things? Am I upgrading? Am I transcending? Am I awakening? Yes, but I am perfect as I am. And my design and how I'm made and how I function, right? Because everyone processes things at a different time. Everyone processes emotions differently. And so sometimes sitting with it doesn't work. Sometimes going on a walk is how you process things, right? Sometimes sitting in front of water, anywhere near water you need to be when you're processing your emotions. That's me. That's why I parked it next to a pond. My complex is next to a pond, because it's like, I need water. I need to go out there and look at the water and just let it all go.
Oh, my little water sign. I love it.
Absolutely 1000%. 1000% water and air. But yeah, I think that's part of it. So it's being okay with that, like how you process things and in the timing that you process things is gonna be different than anyone else. And so being okay with that and realizing I am perfect as I am, and I don't need to change anything. I just need to be honest. I just need to move from a place of integrity. And even if that has changed now, like now I still love that person, but I can't live in a partnership with them. Right.
Right.
it's not going to
It's just
work.
not exactly.
It's
Yeah.
we're going to rub each other. We're going to be going in two
Right.
different directions, and we're
Yeah.
already experiencing
Totally.
that,
Totally. And
So
there's
it's
a
like,
reason why things don't work sometimes,
right,
whether it's a friendship or a relationship or whatever it is. Like
could
there's a
be
reason
anything.
why it doesn't
Yep.
work.
Yep.
And it might be painful to acknowledge that, but then we also have to bring in the logical part and be like, well, it just doesn't work, It's like, and it's not going to. And no matter how hard I try or hit my head against a wall, it's not meant to, at least not right now. That might
Right.
change for you. That might, maybe in the future, like things happen, you never
Yep.
know. The crazy
Yep.
things happen. People's stories are wild. Like they break up and then they end up dating again like 30 years down the line. It's
Right.
crazy. Like
Yep.
you just never know your story, but in the moment you just need to let it go, and you need to like allow yourself the
Yep.
time to grieve and to move through that process, and to really step into, like, again, your own inner power and your intuition of like, what is it that I need to do right now?
Yep.
Which way do I need to go right now? Like now I
Yep.
have to find a new path, and that's
Right.
okay. But how can I begin to do that?
Yep. I want to ask you how it is that you have, like, in what ways have you tuned into your intuition, and how have you found that you hear your intuition, or how your intuition speaks? Because I think that'll help people to kind of learn how to tune in.
Right. For me, I mean, like, honestly, nature is big for me. Like
Yeah.
trees, greenery, just being out, like grounding. For me, it's like earthing, taking off my shoes and just sitting, like laying on the grass, physically walking on the grass, and like allowing myself to breathe, close my eyes, and not trying so hard. I think people try to, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to like receive a download and I'm just going to like try my best to tap into my intuition. It's like, no, when we try hard, we're using the ego. So we're
Yep.
probably not going to like learn anything or download anything. It really is about just allowing things to happen. Have fun, enjoy yourself, like, tap into the inner child, be creative, play. Those are big ways that we can like really tune in, because when we're doing that in that state of play and joy and happiness, we get all the incredible ideas, we get all the inspiration, and it feels so good. And in that moment we're like, ooh, this feels right, this feels amazing, this is where I'm supposed to go, or this is where I feel I should be headed. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for me it's less about expecting and holding on to the idea of like, I have to tune into my intuition, and just doing it, just letting it happen. When doesn't even have to be in nature, you could be out in the supermarket, but as long as you're like in a place of flow and you're in a place of just like present moment, I'm enjoying myself, I'm having fun, I'm doing what I got to do in the moment, and allowing the messages to come through, that's really what it comes down to.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's good. One of the ways that I do it too is I start with my body, because your body is it, right? It's like one of the first things that we usually ignore.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I tune
Yeah.
into my body, and I literally put my hands on different parts of my body, and I just sit and I go, okay, so where's tension? Where
Yeah.
where am I holding? Where am I clenching? Like for the
Right.
past couple days, my left jaw has been sore, and I realized I'm clenching in the middle of the night, probably
Oh yeah.
because I'm stressed. So
Yeah.
I've been a
Yeah.
little stressed lately. And so I realized, oh, okay, so then I need to do some more self-care before bed. Like
Yeah.
clearly I'm bringing the stress of the
Stress
day,
and the anxiety. Yeah.
of the day to bed. And so then it's gonna express itself some way, right? So whether it's in
Exactly.
your dreams, or clenching jaw
Yeah.
and dreams, or any
Yeah.
other way, right? And so I just tune into my body in every part. I just kind of go from my head down to my toes, down to my toes, up to my head, and I just
I
see
love it.
where
Body scans.
everything is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a
Yeah.
body scan, and I really take time. And so then once I go there, I then tune into my thoughts, because
Right.
those are usually a little louder than my emotions, because
Mm.
I'm pretty like
Analytical,
I don't know,
logical.
close vested, or
Yeah.
closed off a little bit to emotions. And so I think I think about my thoughts and where they've been taking me, and all of that, and I just allow whatever's gonna come up, and I just say, like, hit me with it,
Right.
whatever needs to burp up, like
Yeah.
let it burp up right now. And I just sit with it and I go, okay, okay. And sometimes I take notes because I want to
Right.
honor my thoughts. Obviously,
Right.
my brain needs to unload. And so
Yeah.
there's going to be things I just need to duly know, like this thought won't go away.
Right.
And so obviously this is something I need to take some time to address,
Right.
whether
Right.
it's something with work, friendships, relationships within myself. And then I go into the emotions. Usually the emotions for me flow immediately with thoughts. So I'll have
Mm.
a thought about something,
Me
it'll
too.
trigger the emotion. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
So then I allow that emotion and I just kind of take a moment to do that. And then the last bit that I tune into is my energy, and just how does my energy feel? How do I feel in this space? How does my
Right.
space feel? Do I feel
Right.
funk in my space? What do I need to clear? And that's usually around when I light sage and I start to cleanse. Sage or Palo Santo, it's
Ah,
whatever I intuitively feel.
totally.
Cedar, I have dragon's blood sage. It's whatever I feel like I need to do. And then I
Yeah.
have incense as well. And so I just tune in, and whatever I need to intuitively burn and
Let go
do
of.
around
Right.
myself, right? And
Right.
bring it around whatever I need to
Right.
do. And then also within my space, and I'll walk around within my space and cleanse wherever I feel. If I feel like in the bathroom, there's been a lot of negativity on what I look like recently, then I will like sage it up in there, and I'll sage the mirror. I'll be like, "Nah." Like when you look at yourself, you see I am perfect as I am. It doesn't matter
Yes.
what you look like, girl.
Yeah.
You thick, that's fine. You thin, that's great. Whatever you are, right? Whatever
I
you
love
look
it.
like. You're missing half an eyebrow today. That's okay.
All
That's
good.
fine.
All good. You're fine.
So whatever it
You're doing
is.
amazing, sweetie.
You're doing good. You're doing good. So I just tell myself, right? Like wherever it is,
Yeah.
I take the time to cleanse. And that's my morning
Yeah.
ritual every single morning. I have,
I love that.
since I started my fast 13 days ago, as of this
Right.
recording, I started that. I just really felt the call and I was like, you know what? I do need to do that.
Right.
So it's been a journey of starting my day that way, and dancing also. It's not so serious. It's like dancing around my
Movement.
house with my sage,
Yeah. Yeah.
whipping it around,
Yeah.
my Palo Santo, whatever it
That's
is,
what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Dancing. Yeah. Dancing. That's like tapping into that inner child, allowing
Yep.
that to flow. Cause I feel like
Yep.
we're so stifled. Our inner child is so stifled nowadays, especially with like the state of the world, the heaviness that we're all experiencing. It's so hard
Yeah.
to play and have fun and look
Mm-hmm.
at things from such a lighthearted perspective nowadays. So it's important to like carve out some time to purposely do
Mm-hmm.
that. Try your
Mm-hmm.
best to purposely like carve out time so you can
30
really,
minutes.
yeah, 30 minutes, draw, paint, like dance, do whatever it is that makes you feel alive, that makes your inner child come out and soothe her or him, like just do the
Mm-hmm.
thing, do the damn thing.
Do it. Yeah. Because I think
Yeah.
tuning into your intuition, being honest with yourself,
Yeah.
not hiding anything away, but literally bringing everything to the surface that needs to come to the surface
Yeah.
is so important, because it will come up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Either you're going to explode, I
Yeah.
usually say either it's going to be a volcano,
Oh
or it can
yeah.
be a little burp. Which one do you
Yeah.
want? Do you want volcano or do you want burp? And I
The
go,
volcano's really messy.
really want to burp.
Yeah, then you got a big mess to clean up. It's like
Yeah,
I'd rather
volcano is
clean up the little mess.
destructive.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of like
Like,
I like to say it like when you're cleaning your house and you like go weeks without cleaning your house, your apartment,
oh yeah.
and then it's like, or you stuff things in the closet and then you open the closet and everything just falls out. You're like, oh boy, I have a big mess now. Whereas if you like every week do like a weekly cleansing of your closet and your stuff in your house, it's easier. It's like, okay, I have a little bit to clean out and let go of and throw out and stuff. So I always like to compare that and see it in that way of like, do you wanna see a big mess in the closet, or or do you want to be in charge of cleaning a big mess out, or do you want to just clean out the little mess?
Yep.
Yeah.
I just want to authentically move from a place of honesty. Like,
Yeah.
that's I want every response I have to come from a place of honesty with how I honestly feel about something, because that's when we rope ourselves into more than we can handle, right? We
Totally.
say yes, 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 or no, no, no. We say no to things because we just, don't want to deal with it. We say yes to too many things because we can't say no.
Right.
And so I just, in everything, in relationships and wanting a relationship, in dating, in
Yeah.
in
Friendships,
every
yeah.
way, and pursuing a spiritual text and really going hard in your journey, whatever it is. Like, I just want to move from a place of authenticity and not ride the waves of other people and what other people are excited about or
Right.
stirred up about.
Right.
I just want to move kind of to my own drum beat, you know,
Yeah.
like my
Yeah.
own rhythm. I want, not that I want to be alone in it. I want to just be authentic, because I think I'll end up like, as a leader, which I feel like we all are leaders in, it could be in just the circle of your
Right.
friends, it could be in your family, it could be in your community,
lineage.
your world,
Yeah.
your lineage.
Yeah.
Like, that is all we are, right? We're all, it matters how we all live and exist. And so I always say, like, it's not just for my leadership abilities or because I want to make a huge impact on the world that I want to live this way. I want to live this way because I just want to move from a place of authenticity, because then I will feel good in every decision. And then in every moment that I'm bringing things up, that I'm healing, I will feel such goodness and safety and like I'm on the right path, even if it hurts. I'm doing what I'm meant to do in this moment, how I'm meant to respond. I am naturally responding.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately the goal.
Yeah. And you're flowing, you know, which is always what we all want, is we all want to flow with life. We don't want to go against it. We don't want to like go against the current. We want to go with it, you know, and it's so important that we tune into that for that reason. We want to be able to flow. We want to feel like, you know, we can handle daily, day-to-day challenges and things that get thrown at us out of nowhere, you know, like, because we're flowing. And like you said, even if it hurts, even if it's painful, I know that I'm supposed to be here at this specific time in life, in this moment. And I'm moving through it, no matter how painful it might be, no matter how much I may not want to be here in this moment, or I don't want to deal with this specific thing, but I'm doing it, and I'm following through. I'm following through with my soul's plan.
And feeling safe.
Yeah.
To be powerful, to step into your power and your authority over your own life, and not giving that away to anyone or anything. Is also what is part of being honest, is being unafraid and not easily moved from that place of, no, like, I have the right to do what I feel and to move in the way that I feel and respond in the way that I feel. And I think when we're authentic and we're honest, it always comes from a place of love, even if it's hard truth or if it's not nice to hear. It's still being done in love, because it's coming from a place of authenticity and openness, because you've already been open with yourself. So therefore you can be open with someone else. If they've hurt you, or if they're doing something you don't like, or it feels disrespectful. It's communicating in a way that is open and honest, because you've been open and honest with yourself. And so it really just guides everything we do, Yas, right? And it's everything. Like, how do we even wrap this up? Because it's
I know.
because we could go on and on and on just of how important it is. And and I think we've given quite a few practical steps on how to tune in and how to step into your inner power. But it's just not being afraid to say what you feel and to say what you believe and what's truth for you in love is where we need to be at all times.
Absolutely.
It's just where we need to be, because that's how the world is going to shift. That's how the world's going to change. That's how we're going to bring about a new age of love.
And light. And
usher into that. Because we're in the age of light apparently right now. So that's why darkness is being exposed. That's why the, you know, powers that be are being brought to the limelight and are being exposed for what they are. And so we're in that age of light. And it's said that, I think Law of One, Ra says, you may be able to see the age of love really matters how people change, and like what people's decisions are globally, as a community, as a collective. It matters how we all step into our power and step into love, step into honesty with ourselves first. It starts here. If we can't do it here, we can't do it anywhere else. And just by me shifting within myself, I raise the vibration all around me. I'm infectious. Right? That's what I believe. That's what I keep saying.
Damn right. I love that. Yes, you are, boo.
I'm like, I'm infectious. Right. And so are you. And so it's like, if I'm like this and I can, right? Like, have you ever smiled at someone and them not smile back at you? Like, even when they have a straight face. I personally haven't ever had anybody not smile back, even when they looked away.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Like kids do that all the time because they're like, oh, like I don't know what
shy.
to do.
Yeah, they get awkward.
Shy.
But they still kind of do that half like,
but they smirk.
You know what I mean? They smirk. They
at least smirk. They give you a little,
and they still look at you. Yeah, they still look at you. Totally.
You can't not influence people, right?
Yeah.
And it matters how we feel as a collective. So if we begin stepping into our power and we begin tuning in to our intuition and how we feel and living from a place of honesty and empowerment, there isn't anything we can't face, right?
Exactly.
There isn't anything you can't do. Absolutely. You can be guided and not have a single shaman speak to you. You don't have to do a single plant medicine, right? All of that leads you to that place. You don't need anything outside of yourself to tune in.
Totally.
They're all great tools.
They're all tools. Yeah. And it's great.
There's nothing wrong with them. But if you can tune in, then
on your own. Yeah.
You're good.
Then that's inner power. That right there is inner power, because you don't need external things to tune in. You know, like if you use them, that's wonderful. If they help, that's great. But you don't need them. You know, you just need yourself. You need, that power to be able to speak your truth and step into your sovereignty, which, it's the word of the year, word of the era. Like it literally is stepping into your sovereignty and knowing that you carry a lot of power, that you are a co-creator and you're here to make ripples of change, to make massive, massive waves of change. And like you said, Whit, you said it perfectly before, like we can't do that outside of ourselves unless we address it first inside. So that's, I think right now, what we're all going through is, yes, like there's a lot of light that's coming out because there's so much darkness that, is being expelled from the collective, but that's also happening in our individual lives. So that's why all these like karmic bonds, these karmic contracts, these things that no longer serve us from our past are coming up to be addressed. And it's coming up for us to like, all right, done, healed, ready to move into a new era with like, completely new identity and a transformed way of being, a transformed way of thinking. And that's really what the goal is right now. It's for all of us. It's individual as well.
Yep. So good.
I know. I'm just like, this is a total therapy session. I love it. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much for taking the time with me, with the Soulish community. It is always such a privilege and an honor to have you, Miss Sunshine, over here from New York on the podcast.
I love you. Oh, I love you. And trying to bring as much sunshine to New York as possible. Because you can use it. And you can use it. I love you. Thank you so much, my angel, for having me on and for the community. Like, I love your community, and I'm just so blessed and honored to know you and to keep this friendship going strong. And I know it's going to be strong for years and years to come, and I'm so excited for that.
Same. I can't even say anything after that.
I love you.